Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. This is your first time here. Welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This podcast is here for everybody on the open mic comedy circuit, whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, or a tutor. Hey, even comedy fans who enjoy watching the stars of the future in the pub basements. If you're thinking, I could do that, then this podcast will guide you on what to expect on this crazy circuit from those right in the middle of it. Today's guest is someone who is looking to move away from his shared house. He can't stand seeing his housemates kiss. He's an Essex lad. Don't worry, you've not seen him on Love Island yet. But he does claim he is good looking enough, but I'll let you be the judge of that. And he's one of the owners of the Other Side comedy team. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Henry Reilly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark. Thank you for having me.
That's okay, mate. How are you doing?
I'm good. That intro music, I always wanted to ask you, where did you find that intro music? It's quality.
The backstory of that intro music is that it came from when I first started this. I had to put up an episode which was just a trailer, to get it onto all the platforms before episodes were released. And I was hunting around for royalty-free music I could use over and over and over again, being a cheapskate and not knowing if this would work. And just came across a website and I thought, that sounds fun and interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
So I took it, I went with it, and with the intention of finding somebody that could produce something better. But the music's so bad, it's almost good. If that makes sense.
Perfect, like summary for open mic comedy.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Like, symbolises it, yeah.
And somebody told me once it reminds them of the song "The Entertainer." And I was
just
it's quite similar to that.
I was thinking a bit like a carnival, like a circus carnival.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
That's where it came from, anyway. So, how's things going with you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Yourself?
Yeah, they're going well, thank you. So, you're quite young, aren't you?
I'm 24.
24.
24.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm nearly double your age. That's quite scary. So, as a 24-year-old, how did you get into this? And what made you want to do it?
I always wanted to do comedy, really, to be honest with you, Mark. It was something, well, at the age of like 13, 14, I was just really obsessed with like the film industry in America, and just always watched films and TV shows, especially comedy. And started like loving shows like Seinfeld and Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live poster there. And just like all things comedy and on YouTube and all stuff like that. But I wanted to just be a writer. I just wanted to be a film and television writer, and I just write in private on my own. Just maybe a little bit insecure about people finding out that I wanted to write.
Yeah.
But then when I went to uni, I started getting annoyed that I was doing what I was writing alone, but I was at uni where I thought that's where I could then be more open about it.
Yeah.
And then I realised that everyone that I idolise, everyone who's a writer that I idolise, is also a comedian.
Right.
Everyone who's been like on Saturday Night Live or all of these stand-ups, anyone, mainly America, really. I just love American comedy. And at uni I studied, it was called American Studies.
Right.
That's the degree that I got. And I know, yeah, it's bonkers. But it was good because it was during like the Trump administration, Trump presidency.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really interesting, studying about that. And whilst that was happening, it was wild. But and then I just was like, I know what, I want to go and try stand-up. That's what I really want to do.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I went to go and do it, as soon as I went to apply to do it when I was at uni in Portsmouth, COVID just got announced.
Okay.
I then just had to then stop. But I used that time, I thought it was quite good because I used that time to really research a lot more, write a lot more, like watch a lot of pros, Netflix, YouTube, like listen to podcasts, all that stuff. And then as soon as I left uni and stuff started easing up, I just tried to jump straight into it.
So I guess that would have given you a time to sit down and write. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
I guess you had that. I guess a lot of people when they come into the open mic scene, they just want to get on stage and do it. But the fact you couldn't makes you think, I've got to be studious about this. I've got to try and understand a bit more about
100%.
it, and not just think open mic comedy is getting up on stage and just saying words that make people laugh. Because I think we've all learned from being inside of it, it's just far beyond just the
Oh yeah,
words.
100%. Although there was stuff, it is hard because you could learn so much from other people. You can watch, podcasts with Jimmy Carr, Conan O'Brien,
Yeah.
like whoever, any of the stars and stuff. But they're only just sharing their own experiences. You could write 25 different jokes in a notebook, but if you haven't got a platform to go and try them, you have no clue whether they're good or not.
Yeah.
So I've still got notebooks during 2021, the whole of 2021, filled with jokes that I've never tried. And I don't know if I ever will. Maybe I'll make a show of it. Maybe in 10 years' time, I'll try and I'll make a show where I'm just criticizing how bad they are at that point. I don't know, but it's crazy because, that's the beauty of open mic now, because you can just think of like one silly pun and you have a new material night just to go up and try it and see if there's anything to it.
Yeah.
But then the actual idea of writing a set, actually going on stage, knowing how to do set up, punchline, audience interaction, pulling the rug under their feet, all of that type of skill, that is something that you really have to learn, and it takes time, it takes experience, but it takes dedication most of all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there that the thought of just going up and telling jokes is the way it is, but the practice that you have to do in this industry is insane. I was watching a video
100%.
earlier, and they were talking about all the stuff that you can do with comedy, but ultimately you can sit there and write for hours and hours and hours and hours, but you don't know if it's going to work until you're on that
Oh yeah,
stage. And
yeah,
you've got to let jokes breathe and develop and understand what makes a joke funny, because you have these scenarios like when you're talking in a pub to a load of mates and everyone's just laughing and pissing themselves. And you're like, this is great. I can take that to the stage. But 99 times out of 100, that ain't going to work because those people aren't in the room with you. And in 5 minutes, especially starting out, you don't
yeah.
have enough time to bring them into that room with you.
Definitely. And that's the same with writing loads, because the more you write, the less you're focusing on a point,
Yeah.
and it just becomes waffle. Right? You might think that whatever you're saying is necessary to get to the punchline, but all you're doing is just prolonging the
Yeah.
punchline, and you're just putting people off. You're just, boring people. There's been plenty of times when I first started out where you catch a glimpse of someone in the audience like yawning or going to look at their phone, and you realise like hurry up, you're what you're saying is just too wordy. That's all.
Yeah.
And the beauty of 5 minutes. I mean, I just done the King's Head the other day,
Okay.
and that was the first time I'd done a strict 5 minutes for a while, because a lot of the times I'm either emceeing or doing tens where I can use that time to add in a few extra words.
Yep.
And it was so much more refreshing having a strict 5 minutes. Really helped me just chew off the fat, just get rid of all the excess words that I did not need to say.
Yep.
And the set went so much better than I had done for a while.
Yeah, I think you have to ask yourself when you're doing stuff like that is, am I adding any value by saying this sentence? Does this
Exactly.
actually, if that sentence wasn't there, does it affect the punchline in any way? And if it
And more
doesn't,
often,
get rid.
yeah, more often than not, you're just repeating yourself. You're just saying the
Yeah.
same thing that you'd said in the line before or two lines before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way people get confused with writing, as in sitting down and writing a story, as opposed to when you're telling a story. They're very, very different things. But I think you have to go through the process of understanding what is waffle and what's not waffle. And
Exactly.
I'm the first to put my hand up is when I come off stage and I've go up to a mate and I say, yeah, that went really well. I said, no, it was okay, but there was still too much waffle.
Yeah, but
And it added
that's the
no
beauty
value.
of it. That's the beauty of it, though. Yeah, it's trial and error.
Yeah.
Like the benefit of starting a week with a new five and hoping by the end of the month you've really just cut it down, defined it. And the best thing, you probably find this, Mark, is when you gig with the same people enough
Yeah.
and they see you do a bit for the first time and they don't see you for a while, and you've gone around the circuit, maybe outside London and stuff, trying to iron it out, get rid of stuff, add new things in, you riff on it, keep stuff, all that stuff. And then by the end of the month, they see you again, and they're like, I remember when you first tried that.
Yeah.
It's so good to see how that's come on. It's so good to see how you've actually found like where the bit is within that.
Yeah,
You know?
I had this with the thing that gives you a bit of satisfaction as well is when if you do a new bit and you're there with people that have seen you before and they come up and they go, that was a new one, wasn't it?
Mm.
You're like, okay, some people are actually paying attention to what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you even as an audience member, you're just subliminally taking stuff in. And I remember there was not so long back, I saw somebody do guy's name's Siraj, and he does a bit
Mm-hmm.
about he used to do a bit about Teletubbies and
Mm.
how they were related to terrorists.
Right, right,
And
right.
he did the bit. I don't know if you've seen it, where he talks about he openly kind of says they are terrorists because they've got electrical things attached to their stomachs and stuff like
Right,
this.
right, yeah, yeah.
And then I saw him do it again, but he twisted it around. So he said, like, a terrorist camp is somebody that goes out and then back in, nothing's going on, goes out, checks, nothing comes back in, and went through his whole rigmarole. And he was talking about the Teletubbies all along. But he didn't make it obvious it was the Teletubbies at the start. He brought it in right at the end, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's just such a nice way of seeing how somebody evolves and develops a joke. And you're just like,
definitely.
that's brilliant.
And it's always, especially with open mic, it's that real like community feel sometimes, like where you're all cheering each other on.
Yeah.
You know, where you want to keep seeing the same people at the gigs because you like to see other people improve and evolve and get better, as well
Yes.
as you want other people to feel that towards yourself.
Yeah.
And I love comedy for both the actual art of going up there and trying to make people laugh, but also just the community feel of how we're all in it together and we're all trying to just get better together and stuff, you know?
Yeah, I never find there's any. I'm naturally quite a competitive person in what I do and stuff, but I never look at somebody on stage hoping they do badly, so it makes me look better.
Never,
Never.
yeah.
Doesn't even
Even at
cross my mind.
competitions, even at the competitions or gong
Yeah.
shows, especially gong shows. I remember the Blackout. Last time I'd done it was over a year ago now. I haven't been back to a gong show in 24, but when I went there last June, we were all up there in like the little like green room upstairs
Yep.
together. And as soon as someone goes on stage, you're not wishing for them to get gonged off. You're sitting there and you're like really like praying and hoping they all do well because they're all your friends at the end of the day. Like, and also because you've then got to go do that as well. And it's just a real like you're all in the same sinking ship together.
Yeah, that's the wrong way of putting it. All us, it's us against the audience. Make that audience love us, and encouragement from the audience. Even if you are a comedian, you are part of the audience when you're not on stage. So if you can show you're enjoying it, other people will enjoy it as well. And
Exactly, and more often than not, you do find that where if I've already been on and that pressure of me worrying how I'm going to do is done, then for the rest of the show, I'll go into like audience mode completely and just sit there, have a beer, and just watch everyone, and just really enjoy myself. It's like a free night out at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like some gigs are so good that it just feels like I got to perform and now I'm having a night out. You know, watching live comedy.
Especially at somewhere like the Blackout. It's it's a prestigious comedy club.
Definitely.
And you are in front of on the packed out nights 250 people. And there's no other buzz like it. If it's going well, then you're on top of the world. And then
Exactly.
sometimes if it doesn't go so well, you can be there watching other people and you're still cheering them on because you want them. It's like when you're on the stage, you are against the audience. It's your battle against that audience. Even though you're trying to win them over, it feels like a one-on-one.
100%. Oh, yeah.
And then you want that next person to go, come on, you do it. I want to see what you do, what you've done. And you use that as a learning as well, I think.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. When you see, especially when you first start and you do a gig like that with someone who's maybe been doing it for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, and they'll come up to you and be like, I've done this gig 3 times and I've never beaten the Blackout.
Yep.
And when you watch them beat it for their first time, but you learn why that is,
Yeah.
what they've had to do to get to that point.
Yeah. So can you remember the first ever joke you told, either as an adult or a child?
As a child, I used to just mimic other jokes. Like I would come into school and tell jokes that I'd seen on Live at the Apollo,
Yep.
or I used to love Harry Hill's TV burp. I used to love that as a kid, and I used to always, and a few of us at school would, and we, do you remember Heather from EastEnders?
Yep.
And he used to have her on and be like sausage time, and there was like they would get an actor running around dressed as Heather, chasing a dressed up sausage, and I used to find that so funny. And like they used to do like the different faces of Louis Walsh, and it was like
Yep.
clips of Louis Walsh pulling faces during the X Factor. So I used to always like stuff like that. But one joke I do remember, this is like the first ever stand up joke that I remember loving,
Yeah.
and it's so perfect for a kid as well. So it was John Bishop was on. I think at the time it was Michael McIntyre's Comedy Roadshow. I think that's what the show was called,
Yeah.
or it might have been Live at the Apollo. But John Bishop was on there. It's the first time I'd ever seen him, and he made a joke about his son. And at the time, I probably still am now, but at the time I was the same age as his son. And he said, "Oh, like my son's 7 years old," and he asked me, "Dad, can I have a phone? Can I have a mobile phone?" And I was like, "What the hell do you need a phone for? What, are you going to text your mates whilst watching Scooby Doo? Like, oh, I think it's the caretaker." And that just really made me laugh so much because, like, I was that age, and I was like, in my head, I was like, "Yeah, that is what I would do with a phone," And I went into school and I told it to mates and stuff, and I remember that joke. Because now, as an adult, it's like anytime I've told that to adults, they're like they don't find that particularly that funny.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, you're just yeah, of course that's what I'm going to do. Because also at the time, like all comedy is about like relationships, and like when you're a kid and you've seen all these adults do comedy, a lot of it is about things that you don't understand.
Yeah.
You're not going through. You don't know anything about, so you don't get the humor of it. So when you see a joke like that, you 100% get it. So I just felt like included at the time. So I always remember that being one of the first ones that I really, really loved. Yeah.
What about can you remember the first joke you ever told that you came up with?
First joke that I came up with, I can in real life before stand up. I probably can't remember. It would just be probably jokes about my mates and stuff,
Yeah.
like making. I used to make up a lot of stories, make up a lot of lies, like, but in an obvious jokey way. I
Yeah.
remember once we had a careers advisor at school, right? And so each student would get taken out of their lesson throughout the day for a 15-minute meeting with the careers advisor.
Yeah.
And when I come out of mine, it was like lunchtime, break time, and my mate said to me, "Oh, like, what did you tell her? Like, what was it like? Because I've got mine after lunch." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know what to say, so I told her like, I want a career in careers." And then he was like, "Did you actually say that?" I was like, "Yeah, just like to see like how she'd feel, because I'm probably like that's her dream. Like she's living her dream job, being a careers advisor. So I wanted to make her feel seen and make her feel special, that she's not like the only one." And he was like, "No, you're lying. You didn't do that. You didn't do that." And I was like, "Yeah," and I said it, and she looked at me dead in the eye and said, "Are you being serious? You want a job as a careers advisor?" And I went, "Yeah, I love careers." And then she goes like that, pulls up a tattoo, and it just says careers, like in a love heart. And he was like, "No way, did she actually do that?" And I managed to and he went around telling everyone like, "You'll never believe what Henry done." And I think managed to make like 5 people believe it. And then like half an hour later, someone come up to me and was like, "That never happened." I was like, "Obviously not. Of course that never happened." But I used to like make up lies like that and stuff, like about teachers and about like other students, but like, so I'd try and be as obscure and like as obvious as possible. I'd never like make up like gossip, but like lies, like like someone's not in school today because they got abducted by aliens, like something like ridiculous like that, and see how many people could believe it.
It's almost like Jay from the In-Betweeners.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember once I got this whole like there was like maybe like 8 of us sitting eating lunch, and I got all of us to then pretend to this one boy that there was this new app online, like on the phone.
Yeah.
And I just out of nowhere, I was just eating lunch and I just went, "Oh, who's going on Limelight tonight?" And then I started like winking at people and they're like, "Yeah, I'm going on. Oh, last night when we was all on it, it was so funny." And this one guy was like, "Oh, what? No, I haven't got it. I need to get it." And then we just made him really like, really, it was actually quite harsh. We made him feel really bad about himself for not having this cool new trendy social media. And then like once he'd finished his sandwich, we all told him that I'd been making it up. But that, like just stuff like that is what I used to do. Yeah.
So, how many gigs have you done now then?
Now I've done about over. I stopped counting once I reached 100.
Yeah.
I went through a phase of when I first started, every gig I'd book, I would do. Right, so I would always have a list and a tally. But I got to a point where things just started coming up, like family, work. I'd overbook myself, and so I started cancelling gigs, but then getting other gigs last minute. So I started to lose count because I hadn't done the gig I was supposed to do, and then I did a gig the next night when I was going to have a night off. So when I reached 100, I just kind of just stopped counting because I just couldn't keep up with myself by that point. But I'd say over 250.
Okay. And that's in how many years?
In just over 2. 1st of June is the first day I did it. So now it's been 2 years and 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. That's astonishing. That's really going for it in terms of 100 a year.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird. Yeah. It's only 2. It sounds only 2 a week, but there will be periods in that where you may have not gigged for 2 weeks.
Oh, 100%.
In which case you start doing weeks where you're doing 3, 4, 5, and you're like, wow, that's a lot to cram in. But those, I think, somebody I spoke to recently was talking about doing stuff like at one of the Fringe shows, and would do like 7 or 8 shows in a row.
Yeah,
and it allowed them to really nail down their set, because after every single show they could go back and look at what they thought didn't go right, change it for the next one, and then do the same the next day. And it's like a boot camp of your set.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I had a conversation with, do you know Simon Hall?
No.
Simon Hall, he's a great comedian, and he runs a night. I'll shout out his. He runs a night in Bedford, a pro night. But I was talking to him once about fringes, just like that, and he said, doing open mics is like going to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, however much you go, you're training and you're getting better. If you go to the gym once a week, it's beneficial, but it's more beneficial if you do 3 a week.
Yep.
It could be overkill if you go every day of the week.
Yep.
And then he said, and you go to a fringe, you go to Edinburgh, and that's like a boot camp where, you know, you could go on one of these 6-week intense training courses, you know, like over the summer, where you're training to go from flab to pack, they call it, something like that, right? And I don't. They should call it that. I don't know if they do, but I'm gonna start my own one now. But he's like, yeah, and it's like that because I definitely felt that when I done Brighton Fringe. I was there for 3 days and I only done 4 gigs.
Yeah.
3 are the other side shows, and then Kim Nash, a Southampton comic, got me on his mixed bill compilation show on the Friday, and that ended an hour before ours started.
Yeah.
And I had that hour in between to think about what went well and what didn't. Normally, when you do a gig and you come home, and if you are performing the next night, you've got 24 hours, you've got work involved, you've got other family things, this, that, and the other. You start to forget what actually happened. When you go from one gig to another, it's so fresh in your mind that even when you're about to say the next line, you remember, oh wait, don't say that. That didn't go well.
Yeah.
And then you just riff a new line, or you riff the line back at the other gig, and you're like, oh, that went really well. Let me just try and like riff on that, like say what I said, but even better. And it's just like it is. And by the end of that weekend, doing 4 gigs in 3 days even isn't as much as what other people would do at a fringe. Doing 4 in 3, really, I did come out of that with new jokes, new styles, and a new kind of set, as well as I ditched a load of stuff as
Yep.
well. So
how
it
did
is
you
like that.
find Brighton then? You say you went there with, I guess we should kind of, that leads to a nice little segue into the other side.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the other side, how did that come about? And I mean, I'm not, I don't know how if I can say this correctly, but somebody so young to take on something like that and take it on the way it's gone is quite impressive.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. I am proud of it. I mean, obviously, Desmond and me, we have our own fortes. We have our own sections within it, and we have a videographer, Sarah. All three of us really work well together. It started off so easily. It started off. Me and Desmond, we found each other on the. We'd do open mics. We'd both be on the bill, and we'd
Yep.
speak to each other a little bit, and we'd become friends. And then we started being each other's bringer, either on the bringer exchange, or we ended up just DMing each other. And that's then how us two become good friends, just by helping each other out. Which I think when we talk, if you want to talk about bringer gigs at all, or if you have done, which I'm sure
Oh
open
yeah,
mic
it's come up
podcasts,
once or
yeah,
twice.
exactly, yeah. But I've always said that is my favorite thing about the bringer gigs. When I first started, that really helped me make friends in comedy. That really lowered the pressure and really lowered the nerves, because you just had someone next to you that you could talk to and you could be with. Obviously, Desmond wasn't my only bringer, but I ended up making some people that I'm friends for life
Yep.
because we were each other's bringers once or twice, and that's kind of there's a beauty in that. And then we started hanging out outside comedy, just going to the pub together. I brought him to a West Ham game once and stuff, and we go parties and whatever, clubbing, and we just kind of just said we both got to a point where we saw everyone else running nights, and we were like, we fancy a go at that.
Yeah.
We reckon we could have a go. Like, why not? We also both wanted to MC. We both wanted to try MC and wanted to give that a go. But with MC, and it's very, very hard to MC if you don't run your own night. You can maybe get a guest MC spot once every 2-3 months. But, it's not as common as doing sets. It's not common as doing a 5-minute or a 10-minute spot. So then we just kind of went around. Look, it was actually funny. The first time we looked for a venue, we just felt like hopeless kids when we first done it, because we just went, right, let's meet at Moorgate Station, and we're going to look at every pub that we can find and ask them if they can have us.
Yeah.
We must have looked like absolute pillocks, because we would just walk in to a busy, and this is when the Six Nations were on, right? So there was loads of rugby lads in there,
Yeah.
3 p.m. on a Saturday. We'd walk in there and we'd be like, "Hi, your room upstairs. Can we run a comedy show in there?" And they'd just go, "No." And we'd just go, "Okay, on to the next one." We went into this sports bar around Liverpool Street area, and it was really trendy. It was had all the table tennis, electronic darts, all of that. And we went in there and we went straight upstairs to their room. We looked at it, I was like, yeah, this room would be great for comedy. This would be a great gig up here. We went downstairs, went to the barman, and he was like, "Oh, what would you two like?" And we went, "Nothing. Can we have your room for a comedy show?" And he was like, "I've got a queue of rugby lads waiting for pints of Guinness, and you two are bothering me for this." And he went, "Yeah, okay, yeah. If you can give me £500 per week." And then we just went, "All right, I'll take that as a no."
Yeah.
And we just walked straight out. It was, and then we found somewhere. You found somewhere in Shoreditch, and it was too good to be true, because it was downstairs. They had it was a proper comedy club. The way the tables were, they had booths, they had screens all over, and he said he can get a cameraman to film the sets and then have whoever's on stage being on all the TVs in the bar, which is ridiculous. Because I was thinking, imagine if you're bombing, you're trying new stuff and you're bombing, and and when you bomb, you're like, "Oh, I want to get off stage now." But instead of getting off stage, you can just watch yourself on 5 different screens around the bar bombing like that. Even if you're doing well, you don't want to watch yourself on TV screens, But anyway, we got it with him. It was so too good to be true, because a couple of days later, he maybe 5-6 days later, he emailed Desmond at 2 a.m. in the morning and said, "Yeah, sorry, we've had to shut down the bar. The bar's been shut down by the police."
Oh God!
It was what? And we had to tell everyone, because we picked the lineup out. because we were like, we want to have the best first show ever. So we got like everyone that we knew and trusted. We told everyone to come with their best stuff just for this first time and all that. And then we had to tell everyone, yeah, sorry, the gig's cancelled because the bar's shut down by the police. And it was just like so typical. So typical, yeah.
So how did you find the current venue then?
So the current venue, we found that through our previous venue. Desmond, he didn't learn from that situation, and he went, "I'm going to go and do the same and find venues." But at this, I think I was out with my family, or I was at football or something like that. So I was, I can't do this Saturday, but by all means, if you want to, then like please, that'd be great. He said, yeah. So he just done the same, but went around Paddington area, found the Mitre, Old Mary's, and they were lovely, they were great, and we started running shows there, and they were going so well that then they work for a company, Young's, that's like the pub franchise thing.
Oh, the brewery mainly.
The brewery, yeah. And they said that on their they had a yearly Young's award show.
Okay.
And the Mitre got like a special shout out because they made so much money from the comedy shows. You know, mainly because I was there and I'm a massive drinker. I was giving them so much money every time I was there. But we got a lot of people in, everyone buying drinks, people who wouldn't usually go. And then people would then go back to the pub because they'd know it from comedy. They'd go, I've done a gig here.
Yep.
They do really nice food, and they'd go back to eat and stuff. And so then everyone got on Rebecca's case about wanting us to run shows at their pubs.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we viewed a few, and only the one we have now had a separate room. All the others were just in the pub.
Oh, okay,
So we were like, we'll go for this one in Hampstead Heath. And then the Mitre, then after just over a year of running shows there, they got new managers and they didn't want any live events there, no music, no comedy. So they then kicked us out. And now the Hampstead Heath venue, which we found through the Mitre, is the only venue that we have. But they're great, and the shows there are going really well.
Cool. So what's the scope of the bill then for those kind of the one in Hampstead? Then what's the format in terms of comedians? How many set lengths and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we played around with it a few different times. The current one that I do all the bookings, all the admin.
Mm-hmm.
I do all the marketing, selling tickets, like the Eventbrite, all the mailing list and all that stuff.
Yep.
Desmond deals with the graphic design, the reels, the posters, all that stuff. And then we both share the hosting, both share the cost of equipment, mics, posters, stands, all that stuff. So what I like to do with the lineup, this is my latest one, and I think this is working the best, is to have 4 10s and either 6 to 8 5s.
Mm-hmm.
So to have 5 or 6 acts in the first half, 5 or 6 acts in the second half, 10s open and close, 5s in the middle, 10s open and close, 5s in the middle.
Yeah.
And I like to do 10s as non-bringer, and currently at the moment the 5s still as bringer.
Mm-hmm.
We always said when we first started we'd try and ease off the bringer stuff, but Hampstead Heath there just isn't people that want to come to live comedy.
Yeah.
You don't get enough real people in there. And we've had nights where if anyone can't find a bringer, I shouldn't really say this on a podcast, but it's not, but we're not strict to it. We're not strict with the bringer thing because I understand firsthand how hard it is. If people are really searching, if a bringer gets ill on the day or trains get messed up, strikes or cancellations.
Yeah.
There are so many things going on that determine whether people can make it or not. On a Thursday night, completely understand. And when people drop out because they're ill, like the actual acts, we still want to fill up the spaces. We would rather have comedians perform without a bringer than no comedians at all.
Yeah, no, I understand.
We've had nights where there's only been a couple of people that are there to not perform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different vibe. The more people in that room is better for the acts. You get a better response for your material. You get a better show. You enjoy yourself a bit more. And it's tough. It's a little it's a dilemma that we've been working with. But yes, at the moment Yeah, 5 minute bringer spots and 10 minute non-bringer spots, and sometimes guest MCs if either of us aren't available, or if we're just feeling nice and want to have the night off from hosting.
Yeah. No, I think the whole bringer, we've had the bringer argument, say argument's the wrong word, discussion, come up loads of times. I think everybody in the industry, especially in London, because that's primarily where the bringer situation happens, is that everyone knows that it's kind of a necessary evil, because in London there are so many people that want to do this, and there are so many nights that can cater for those people that want to do it, that the crowds that you would need to get in to come and see everybody as a natural thing is it's not there.
100%,
And
100%.
you would people need to look at the open mic circuit, and I think the bringers, like you say, as the gym, as the practice ground. And if you can make a room full of comedians laugh, that's a talent.
Oh yeah,
Because
oh yeah,
we're
100%.
not everybody in there is the most attentive person, because they're thinking about what they're going to say, what they're going to do, and what's going on around them. But if you can then pull them away from that they're doing, and they're enjoying what you're doing, you've won a battle.
Yeah, and also with comedians, you get oversaturated by comedy. If you
Yes.
go to a comedy show even 2 times a week, you just see so much that it may be so funny to you, but you've got no more laughs left in your body. You know,
Yeah.
like you're all laughed out. You know, you're laughing in your mind, but your body just physically, you're done. You know, and it's hard because smiles and nods. The audience, the person who's watching, may think, I am enjoying this, I'll smile and nod.
Yes.
But the act looks at that and they're like, you must not be enjoying this. I must be so rubbish.
Yes.
And it's
This is
tough. It's hard.
it's the shoulder shufflers, I like to refer to them as. That
Yeah.
we can't see you.
Yeah.
We need volume. You come and stand on this stage, and you have this light in your face, and you see if you can see me sat in
Oh,
front of you.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen. You need to be vocal. You need to push out. And I think the one thing as well about being in open mic comedy now is that if I was going to a comedy show and I wasn't part of this thing, I would be apprehensive about being spoken to and stuff. But I don't feel that, there's that whole thing, I don't want to sit in the front row in case you talk to me. It's like, nobody's going to bite your head off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't a being filmed for YouTube. This isn't here to make somebody look stupid. It's to have a laugh and have some fun. And I think if you go to some of the, pro, semi-pro nights, you sit there and you think, I don't want to sit at the front. I don't want to be spoken to. I don't want to say anything. But once you've been in this, you don't mind contributing, because your contribution, in your head, is helping that person.
So much. Yeah.
If a comedian's on stage and asks a question of the audience and nobody answers,
Oh, it's horrible.
but who here has got 2 feet and
Yeah.
nobody answers, and you're just like,
Yeah.
no, come on, there's got to be at least one of you.
Yeah, yeah. I was at actually I went to Soho Theatre yesterday with my girlfriend. One of my favourite venues ever. I love Soho Theatre. I love the bar. I love the staff are always great. Always the shows are always amazing. And we went to see Patty Harrison, an amazing professional comedian. It was a really good show. She asked the question to the audience, like she's like, "While I'm in London," because she's American, she's like, "While I'm in London, like, why don't people just shout out their favourite restaurants I should go and try?" And just everyone was silent.
Yeah.
And it's like something that's so non like controversial, just to shout out like the word Pizza Express, But people just didn't want to do it. I mean, obviously I didn't do it either, so maybe I should hold my hands up too. But it's funny because I've been on stage. You was at the gig the other day. It actually was one of the first times I'd asked this. I ask about ick sometimes.
Yeah.
To get just a bit of do a bit of crowd work. It's a good way to to get crowd work without picking on anyone in particular.
Yep.
You're asking everyone, whoever wants to get involved. But no one wanted to the other day, and it is tough. It's almost like it's hard to move on with your set when you've asked a question and no one replies. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. You always, I think especially as an open micer, you need to have two answers or
Oh,
two
100%.
ways to go
Yeah.
in your head. If nobody answers, then it's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to say
Oh,
this.
yeah,
If
yeah.
everyone answers, then I'm going to go with this way, and just have that in your head that don't
Yeah, yeah,
ever
yeah.
be in a situation where you're caught out and like a rabbit in the headlights and I don't know what to do next.
Oh, yeah, you can't rely on the audience at all
No.
because you'll end up going to gigs where there'll be no audience.
Yep.
You know, so sometimes you gotta. But I also think with the sitting in the front row thing, more often than not, I think now it's such a debate about crowd work and stuff because there's the idea of social media, Instagram and TikTok, right, where people love watching crowd work because it's off the cuff.
Yep.
It seems like it was done in their head just then. Sometimes it is pre-written. Sometimes they've said it before and now it's their chance to say it again. Whatever. And sometimes people see that and they think that's what comedy is. Comedy is an answer and response
Yeah.
art form. And so they get annoyed when they do sit in the front row and nobody talks to them. And that's how heckling can happen, especially with the comedian smashes heckler,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of like that trendy video. But it is more often than not, you'll have the MC will always try and do crowd work.
Yep.
That's kind of their job. But if you're at a pro show, a lot of those people at maybe Big Belly, Top Secret, or any of those places, they might have a bigger gig coming up at the comedy store or at a festival where they don't care. They need to do their material. They
Yeah.
need to work their set out. So they don't want, all they want is listening and laughs.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough one. It's like people are so scared of being talked to, but they probably won't. And then other people are so desperate to be spoken to
Yeah.
that then it ruins the show.
Yeah.
You know? So it's, people need to know the balance of when they can and can't shout out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So with your kind of, I mean, I'm going to say vast experience in terms of stage time now, what would you think is your best ever moment on stage and worst ever moment on stage?
My best ever moment on stage was the first gig that I nailed. I remember it really clearly. It was at Arch One at G&B.
Yeah.
My fifth ever time on stage, and it was coming off my fourth gig was my worst at that time, where I was sloppy with the writing. I was just not. Maybe I was too nervous going in that I didn't really sit down and knuckle down and write as much as I should have. All of that stuff, and that was kind of it was weak material, no punchlines, poor performance, and so I knew that I was like, I don't want to keep bombing in front of people and be known as, oh, that guy's rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I come in with like loads of new jokes, perfected the old stuff, really tried to do like set up, punchline, all that, and I put loads of work into this because I had a week. It was Wednesday to Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I knew it was actually Tuesday to Wednesday, so just over a week. And I really kind of just took that time to really, really prepare, like almost like it was a be all or end all moment for me.
Yeah.
Which
I've had them.
it completely wasn't, it's just open mic, but I was so determined to prove to everyone in my own head, even though nobody cares, but I really was like, I need to prove to everyone that I can do this. And I went up there and every punchline hit, applause breaks, like it was really good. I felt really happy and they come off and that was great. And even though I've had better gigs since, that was the first time that I really felt like, okay, I can do this. I'm not wasting my time. This isn't a lack of judgment. This isn't I'm not deluded at all. It's something that I can do if I put the work in, if I try, and if I give it my all, it can go well.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the first time that I achieved that. In terms of worst ever gig,
Here begins the therapy session.
yeah, I'm trying to think of times where I remember now. This is my worst ever gig. I bombed so hard as an MC during the interval. I asked Luke Hall to MC the second half for me. I just couldn't bring myself to go back and MC the second half. I really couldn't. It was another side at Hampstead Heath, and it was one of them nights where there wasn't really any bringers, and there was no audience members, and it was just acts. And I've had a night like that since, where I've learned from that. If that happens, just go up there and just try new stuff and be in the moment with everyone.
Yeah.
But instead, I went up there and tried to MC like it was a sold out packed room with 50 real people.
Yeah.
And I was trying to do like ask people like where they're from, and they're all like, "We know you. We've been on nights out with you. You know,
Yeah.
like we've seen you do 12 Jaeger bombs in a row. Don't ask us what we do for a living." And so I was, and then I tried to do material, and it wasn't going well. And I'd also had a really bad day at work that day. I like covered in rain. I was tired. Like it was just like all things that could have gone bad, like went bad.
Yeah.
And it was, I should have just known that like they're all comedians. Don't try and get the energy up.
Yeah.
Like if they want to give the energy, they will do that, because they know they've all got to perform to that room anyway. But I started kind of like getting angry at myself on stage. Like I was disappointed that I wasn't doing well as much as I like normally would as an MC. But it was like things that were out of my control, and I should have just went with it, rolled with it, and just had fun no matter what, rather than. And I kept apologising whilst I was on stage. Like I kept being like, "I'm so sorry, this night isn't going as well as it normally does. I promise, like, it's not." And I was like really like getting like upset, and it was like pathetic, really. And I was really just like begging everyone, like, please enjoy the night. And everyone was like, relax, it's fine. And I was just in my own head. And at the interval, everyone was like, "What are you doing? Like, it's fine. Like, why are you getting so emotional on stage? Like, stop apologising to us. We're here to do comedy too. It's fine." And then I was just like, "Listen, Luke," he was supposed to open the second half. I was like, "Go up there, MC for a little bit, open the second half," and I just can't bear to be on that stage again. I look back, I just don't know why I put so much pressure on myself that night. I don't know why I let it get to me, but yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah,
these things, you never know what's going to happen until they happen.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is that you put your heart and soul into something like it's your own night, and you expect and want in your head you're the king of that night because it's your night, and then it's not going so well. But everyone does take things personally when it comes to that, and I think it's just human nature that we all think we are. I mean, there's very few people in this world. I think a lot of people think they're better, that they think they're better than they really are. They still may be fantastic, but you know, there's levels on what we are on this circuit and where we can
100%.
go, kind of thing.
Where
we can go on this circuit. Obviously, with extra work and adaptation and the right guidance, you then go beyond this circuit and you become a superstar. However, there is only so far you can really go on this circuit.
Oh yeah.
And it's understanding all of those levels that you can do, and how you deal with those kind of nights that are quieter and stuff. I've been there so many times now, and I still do it to this day. There's a couple of open mic nights where it's not a bringer, so you go along and you do end up just being the comedians. You can see a lot of people are struggling, or there's a few bits of the crowd, but not a lot. They've kind of been harangued down from upstairs into the basement. You know, come and watch this free comedy.
Yeah, they don't want to. They'd rather. It's even worse then, because they're in the room, but they don't want to be in the room. You'd rather them not be there at all.
Yeah,
you know?
But and you kind of go on, and before you go on, you go, "Oh, everyone else hasn't gone really well. Maybe I can save the night. Maybe I can be Superman this night." You never are.
Yeah.
You never are. Just accept it. And I've just come to that conclusion is when it's a night like that, that's a night where you treat it as a pure rehearsal and you just mess about. Because if you do your good stuff and it wins people over, what have you learned from that night? Whereas everybody that's gone before you that may have not gone so well and has bombed, they've probably learnt more from that night than you have.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And I keep going, I'm going to be the one that's going to save it. I'm going to do my Toy Story joke and people are going to laugh. And then nobody does. And you're like, I should have done what I should have done, what I said I would do, but I didn't.
Yeah,
And you're just like,
yeah.
no. So
You got to
it's,
use that as a excuse to just get your notebook out
yeah,
and just because if your best stuff that you've done well in front of loads of other people, normally those people will be there anyway,
yeah,
and they would have seen that, so they
yeah,
want to see new stuff from you.
yeah.
You
No,
know.
so true. So with we kind of touched on it and then we moved away from it. But coming back to the Brighton Fringe,
Yeah,
how did you
yeah.
find that experience then? Because I assume that was your first ever.
That was the first ever Fringe I've done.
Yeah.
And first time running a show as well at the Fringe. So I went to Tunbridge Wells Fringe last year, but that was a one-off gig. So it felt more like just going down to Tunbridge to a gig.
Yeah.
You know, the same way I've been to other places in the home counties to do a one-off gig. So that was a bit different. But the Brighton Fringe, we were down. It was so fun. It was so good. It was a weekend away. Had a hotel there.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Desmond and Sarah, the videographer, we just had so much fun together. We drove down there together. It was like a little holiday in a way for us. And the gigs were great. The gigs were really fun. We sold out. We sold out online for all three shows, but the Sunday it was really hot. It was middle of the day on a Sunday, so not as many people who bought the tickets came.
Yeah.
But there was still about 10 people in a 30-seater room. So then all the comics sat in there, whereas before we didn't even have space for the comics to be in the room.
Yep.
So no one knew what happened, which was really hard for MCing actually on the first night because, you know, when I MC, I like to watch the audience. If there's real audience in there, I like to watch them and then go up there and be like, oh, I saw you nudge your partner when you heard that joke. Is that because you two are going through a similar thing? And then use that as a way to do crowd work rather than just go like, what do you do for a living kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you don't know even what the comics are saying, let alone how the audience are reacting, I didn't MC it really. I MC'd a bit at the start, crowd work, my own material, explain what the night is. Other than that, I just introduced the next act for the others. It was really hard, but it was still fun just to keep the night moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was such a good experience. Everyone smashed it. The venue was so lovely. The one thing I would really say about Brighton Fringe is Ben Carter, Half a Camel Productions, is a hero. He is an absolute legend. To anyone listening, and shout out to Ben, he makes the whole experience, the whole admin, booking, everything so easy.
Okay.
We've got 2 other fringes booked in before the end of the year, Colchester and Camden. And as much as I'm looking forward to them and they'll be great, on the admin side of things, not that easy.
Right.
I don't want to slate them because they haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
Talk to me after the gigs and I'll say whether it was worth it or not.
Yeah.
But they were hard. Booking those fringes wasn't easy. Brighton Fringe was the swiftest thing I've ever done. He makes it just so smooth. And so without a doubt, I will go Brighton Fringe with him again next year.
Yeah.
The way he does the venues, his spreadsheet. I mean, I love admin, right? It's the reason why the other side goes well is because I love it. I love a spreadsheet. I am a sucker for a spreadsheet.
Yep.
Right, which I know is the most uncoolest thing anyone could ever say.
I think it's almost so uncool. It's cool.
This is the moment, all the ladies turn the podcast off. But I love a spreadsheet, I really do. And Half a Camel Productions, the way that they organised Brighton Fringe, you could see everyone's show, when all the shows were, which made it so fun to text my mates being like, oh, your show is at the same venue as me.
Yeah.
We're on after you. Like, we'll come and watch your show, you come watch ours, and we'll hang out and have a beer after, and stuff like that. Or I'm there on a Sunday, I'll come to your show and watch your show, and that kind of helps with the whole community feel with it all.
Yeah, definitely.
We were so lucky because it was the hottest weekend of the year. So on the Saturday, loads of comics, loads come down to just watch Andy Tawny our show. So there must have been about 30 of us comedians just on the beach, having some beers and
Yeah.
just like having fun, enjoying the sun and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a really, really good experience.
Cool. Excellent stuff. Nice one. So, what would be a similar plan for next year then, I guess, something like that?
Yes, I would ideally like to do another compilation show with the other side. I think it's just really fun with a compilation show with London comics because they're your friends that you gig with all the time
Yeah.
and all going down. I'd be scared to do a solo show with the fear of being in Brighton on my own and
Yeah.
not because if a gig goes badly, at least you've got other comics to share that experience with.
Yeah.
Like to be honest, our Friday in Brighton, the audience, as much as it was packed out, they were a bit stick up their bum.
Mm-hmm.
They were all very instead of I'm here for a comedy show, this is going to be great. They were all like prove yourself to me, make me
Yeah.
laugh. And but it was good because there was five of us, and we all had that experience. We all felt that energy in the room,
Yep.
and it was almost like. Being in like a lion's den cage or something where you're really kind of fighting to get them to laugh,
Yeah.
which it should never do when you're a comedian. It's horrible to feel like you have to make them laugh and prove yourself to them. But if that's the way they want to do it, that's the gig it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so, as none of us were in the room, we'd be at a table having a beer or outside sitting down and someone would come at you, oh, how did it go for you? And they're like, yeah, I made them laugh 3 times out of a possible 50. And it's like, oh, well
Yeah.
done, better than my 4, like that kind of feeling. And so that it was fun to share that experience,
Yeah.
Whereas if a solo show, if it goes badly, you've only got yourself to blame. Whereas at a
Yeah.
compilation show, you can blame it on the audience because if they treat every act the same, you can be like, maybe they just wasn't the right crowd for us.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe the comedy could have been better. Maybe the standard, maybe the this, that, and the other. There's obviously all that. So I would like to accommodate. I would like to try a split bill because I feel like by this time next year, I should have a nice 30 minutes I'd like to do.
Yeah.
And I would like to do that as well. But fringes are expensive. Just the actual admin fees of paying the fringe company, the brochure company,
Mm-hmm.
posters, flyers, and the venue, as well as transport and accommodation.
Yep.
So I would like to do a split bill and a mixed bill if I can, if I
Yeah.
can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
only
think
with Brighton.
I think the split bill is I think that's the way forward, especially for people making their first step, isn't it? If you're gonna be
Definitely.
if you're gonna go straight into an hour on your own, wow, you've got some kahunas on you. Whereas
Yeah,
going
definitely.
going with a split bill, you're kind of a bit more. You've got that buddy to fall back on,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I think that makes it more fun, more pleasurable, and it's certainly. If I was ever to consider doing anything like that, I would definitely go down a split bill route rather than trying to think of doing something on my own as such. But so here's one. When it comes down to, you mentioned you've got lots and lots of notepads of jokes and stuff. What
Yeah.
is your
Yeah.
joke writing method? Do you have one, or is it just a case of throw as much into a book and see what you can make of it? Or
It used to be. It used to, think of something silly whilst I was on the train, on a bus, sitting at home watching telly, chuck it in my phone notes, and then I used to try and I used to try and be organised. I used to try and be more, have more of like a stable plan when it comes to writing, and go spend all month jotting down stuff into my phone. Then at the end of the month, go through my phone, write everything that I had in there, try and long write it,
yeah,
improve it, make it into a bit, use the internet for like use the thesaurus to change words, make words funnier,
yeah,
things like that. But life gets in the way,
mm,
and over the last year, I have been so. I shouldn't be hard on myself and say I'm lazy when it comes to writing because I've been doing other things. But when it comes to writing, I definitely haven't done as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Where, but then I was talking to Chris Alley. You know Chris,
Oh yeah, I know Chris well.
and we were talking the other night at the King's Head, and we were saying sometimes the more you write, the worse you get because you're always constantly wanting to try a new bit, and you're not perfecting a bit that needs that has potential but isn't there yet. You're just going on stage, doing it once, throwing it away. When if you worked on that one joke for 6 weeks, by the end of that 6 weeks, you could have a really good funny bit
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than do 50 new bits in the space of 6 weeks and have nothing by the end of that.
Yeah. You're not going to know what works if you do that. You throw
Exactly.
so much shit at a wall, something's got to stick at some point. But
Exactly.
the stuff that falls off the wall may be good. It just didn't work in that room.
Yeah.
So that's always an intrigue thing to me, is that I don't know if you have this, is how many times do you give a joke before you go, that's just not good enough?
Depends on the joke. Sometimes once. Like sometimes you know when it's not good. You know, sometimes you go on stage and you're like, yeah, why did I even say that kind of thing? Sometimes it's hard because you could do a really good joke about something that's going on at the moment, you know, something pop culture related or news related, and it just comes and goes so quickly you can't keep doing that joke.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the best one, Matt Withers, he still references it, but is that he had loads of Liz Truss material, and then it just come on and went, and I don't know, he was just so upset with that.
I bet.
Because it's just like, but that like, perfect example is like things like that, you know, like something happens in the news, something pop culture related, you know. I wasn't doing comedy back then, but say for example, you remember when Madonna got strangled off stage at the Brits Awards
Yes.
by her cape, you know.
Yep.
Like you can't make jokes about that tomorrow. Not
No.
because you can't make jokes about it, it's because nobody cares.
Yes.
You know. And so I have said things that are relevant that week that just nobody is here for anymore.
Yeah.
But in terms of actual jokes that are just rubbish, there's been a few times. There's been a few times where you feel like, oh, this has potential, and you just can't find the joke yourself. You know, like
Yeah.
there's a few that like I've been really determined to find, but I just can't find it. So I'm like, I'll put that aside. I'll wait a few months, try and go back to it, and hopefully then I can find it. You know?
Yeah. I've got that. I'm going through that at the moment, to be honest. I don't know if you, for the listeners, me and Henry gigged together just about a week ago. But there's one joke I've done twice now. And I really think it's got legs somewhere, but I'm not sure if I've got it in the right place. So to give you, I don't know if you actually were there when I did my bit. I do a bit where I talk about how getting old, you can't remember things. You know, somebody to ask you to do something and 10 seconds later it's gone in your mind. But I can still remember the starting 11 from a football match 35 years ago. And I begin to recite every single player in order, in number, and then chuck in a couple of little lines about it.
Yeah.
Now, I love that because it's true to me, because that is genuine. I know that. I have not had to Wikipedia it. I've not cheated. It is 100% genuine. And it enforces the ridiculousness of, I can't remember something that I'm supposed to do in 5 minutes, but I can remember something from 35 years ago that is just there in my head.
Because it's so true. Like my dad's the exact same. Like loads of my friends are the same. You know, like you could go down the pub and you could be like, "Oh, did you book that ticket that I sent you for this gig?" And they'll go, "Oh, I completely forgot." But I was thinking about that game I watched when I was 6 years old, and
Yeah.
it'd be like, "What the hell?" You know, it's so true, and that's why I really like that because it is. There's so many men are like that, and it's so real.
The only problem I think I've got with that joke is because you don't need to know about football to know the premise I'm getting across. But
No, of course not.
I wonder if the fact that I list 11 players in number order takes too long, and it makes people go, yeah, just get on with it. We've got the point. You know, once I've got to 5 or 6 in the lineup, it's like, yeah, we've got the point. We don't need to go. And for me, it's like, I can't do it without doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I haven't worked out if I can do it. I think I've got another way of doing it that's shorter, but I haven't tried it yet. I'm probably going to try it next week. But I really, that joke and that premise and everything just kind of came to me whilst I was thinking, what can I do to enforce the point that I can't remember shit? And that was the most ridiculous thing I can, because there was going to be.
What about? It might ruin the punchline, but you could do that. And if you're with an audience that are turned off, that have kind of like drifted away because you as you say might have taken too long, you could have said, I was planning on doing a joke another way, making that joke shorter, but I just can't remember how I was going to do it. Something like that. But I know then later obviously the whole joke is about forgetting things. So
but the funny thing was, the first time I did that joke was on the Monday of that week, and when I got to the end of the starting 11 and then went and I got a round of applause from the crowd, and I thought, good. Superb. And then when I did it on Wednesday when you were there, I got one bloke in the front row just kind of went, yeah man, I understand exactly what you're doing. He clapped, and he was the only one, and it was just like, because I got the reaction first time, I thought, that's it, that's the one. And then the second time I was like, no, I didn't get it. So which one was the lucky one? Was it?
It is just different crowds, though. I mean, that's the beauty of keep doing the same material, because sometimes you'll find that it's nothing other than every like comedy subjective. It's nothing other than some audiences are here for it, others aren't.
Yeah,
you know.
But that crowd on Wednesday when we walked in that room and thought, this isn't going to be a good night. This crowd, but. I think, was you there when Becky Jade came on?
No, I left to get back to Essex. Yeah, I left in the interval.
She came on, and you've obviously seen her before.
Yeah, but I haven't ever seen her perform, but I've met her.
Oh, okay. When she does this bit where she came on at the start, and she said something along the lines of, I hope I'm not ruining this for you. She said, I know I look like a lesbian, but I love cock. And that crowd of like 6 or 7 bald skinhead blokes in the corner, one of them went, "Oi!" To which Becky went, "You love cock too." And it was just like,
that's so good.
She absolutely smashed the hell out of that room.
Yeah.
She was amazing. And it's having those bits in. I'm looking around at the front row, and I could see that one guy who clapped me, he was like listening to everything I was saying, whereas a couple of others were like, yeah, whatever. He's just like, no, I want 100 of you in here. The rest of them can piss off. But I'm trying to work out, that's part of the waffle thing, is that does it add to the punchline by doing all 11? No, it doesn't. But it would probably work in a 10-minute set. But in a short 5, I think you end up finding out you're trying to catch yourself up and get ahead of things.
Yeah.
So here's one for you then. What is your favourite joke? It doesn't have to be your best joke, your favourite joke. How you came up with it and how has it changed?
I did love when I used to compare how the Kardashians and West Ham United were very similar. I used to love doing that. And I always think about bringing it back, like always, because there was no reason for me not to do it, just other than I started writing other material that I wanted to try, and just kept doing new stuff and whatever. But and I come up with that when I done my comedy course with Kate Smurthwaite at City Academy.
I'm a City Academy as well.
Oh, did you do it as well?
Yeah, not with Kate. I did it with Ben Clover.
Oh, nice. And Kate just said to us, pick one thing that you love and one thing that you hate. And then with that, write how they're very similar. And then I picked West Ham and Kardashians. I won't tell you which one I love and which one I hate. Because really, I love both. But and then it was just, when you pick something, and the beauty of that is like, because they are so opposite. They are so opposite. and then I straight away found the similarities. You know, I said about like every year there's new outfits, and I said about how there's one old character who trains and manages the young stars.
Yeah.
You know, because of Chris Kardashian, or Kris Jenner. I don't know what she's called anymore, but yeah, and I like that because when I would mention it on stage, you could see people who are either football fans or reality fans or didn't
Yeah.
like either, and you see them all go, "How's this then?" But I did find that oh sugar, my laptop is about to die. I'm so sorry. I did find that when I would reveal how they're similar, I would think, oh, maybe this is a bit too easy. Maybe the joke's a bit too easy, but it was definitely one that I enjoyed doing.
So if things were to go well, you did Brighton next year again, and you were to become super famous, and you get the call from the BBC saying, "Hey, we want you to do your 20 minutes at Live at the Apollo,"
Yeah.
and they ask you, "What would you like to pick as your walk-on music?"
Yeah. I don't know what they'd let me put on if I wanted to. It's maybe it's known on the circuit. I don't know whether people would pay attention sometimes, but I absolutely love drill.
Right.
I am a massive drill fan, rap fan. Anything about gangs, drugs, and murder, I'm all for it.
Because I'm going to say this, you don't look like the type.
Yeah, I know. I get that a lot. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I think, to be honest, the reason is, as much as I make jokes about it because of, I'm not from that life and
Yeah.
I'm, middle class and all this and all that. But really, because it's just real music. I know in the terms of music, people think it's not real music, but everything is from reality. It's all storytelling. Stuff you hear on the radio, commercial.
Mhm.
It's pop music and it's all about a bunch of cobblers.
Yeah.
Whereas I've always been a rap fan from a young age because it's always just been individuals telling their stories, giving themselves a platform that otherwise they wouldn't be allowed to have, and trying to make their lives better and just talking about where they're from and the lives they have, whether they are proud of it or not is a different question.
Yeah.
But the fact that they do have to do what they do to survive is because of a fault in the system, both the system here in England and in America and all over the world, for loads of different reasons. And I also just enjoy the music. I just think, like quick paced rap,
Yeah.
good rhymes, like the lyrics, the metaphors, there's similes. I said that before in my set. I used to try and do jokes about how I like to explain like the similes and metaphors within uh, uh, music about selling heroin and stuff like that. But I do. So I did. I mean, you're doing this gig in a few weeks as well in Hitchin.
Yeah.
I don't know when this podcast come out. Whether we probably would have gone and done the gig already. But
Yeah.
But I don't know. I asked to put on drill song as my walk-on music, to be honest. But I tried to find the most upbeat, friendliest, funniest one I could that isn't just straight, gang rap.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's going to be. I am so looking forward to seeing what the reaction's going to be because I can't predict. I know what Hitchin's like. I know what that place is like. I've done it before. I know the type of clientele they get in there. And what I think is going to be quite funny is if you do that, is they're going to think it's a parody.
Yeah.
Because of what they're going to see walk on stage to what they're hearing. It's going to be like,
oh yeah, definitely.
Hold on a minute. This really is a Joker we've got in front of us. They're not actually going to believe that it's what you like and what you listen to.
I know, especially I always wanted to rap on stage as well. I didn't want to ever be a rapper, but I've always wanted, I still do, actually, to figure it out. But always wanted to do parody raps and parody songs, or like I've always wanted to do character comedy and stuff. I've just never put enough effort into wanting to do it, But I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, character comedy is an interesting one. I've often sat there and created a character ready to kind of go, but it's kind of like loosely based in reality. However, trying to have the guts to do that on an open mic night when it's not anywhere near polished or anything is quite scary, I find.
100%.
It's probably one of those where I know like G&B run an alternative night, don't they? Where they encourage you to do something that's out of your comfort zone. And I think that might be the place to go for that. But it would be the very first time it was ever done. And that's the bit that fills me with dread, is I know it's the first, and it's probably it's going to be unpolished. And I wouldn't even know. I don't know. It's one of those interesting ones. I want to give it a go at some point, but we'll see. We'll see.
That G&B comedy, try something new out of your comfort zone. That was the first ever open mic I'd done.
Oh, was it?
And it was so perfect, so like necessary for me. I will forever be grateful to Kyle for that, because I don't think I could have ever continued doing comedy if my first open mic was full of a bunch of people that had been doing it for a year, 6 months, and they were doing material that they'd done 50 times.
Yeah.
Because it was my second ever time on stage, first time being the showcase that I'd done after my course. And going to that, everyone was trying something new. So it was everyone's first time, and everyone was saying how nervous they was.
Yeah.
And these people had been going for years. And everyone was saying how nervous they was, how they were worried they were going to bomb, and it was so supportive. Obviously, all them nights were supportive.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But to go on stage and my try something new thing was stand-up.
Yeah.
I was allowed to do whatever I wanted because anything was new to me. And so that was really helpful and supportive, because it was all in that. It was almost like doing a second showcase. The reason why I loved doing a showcase because we was all doing our first ever gigs together.
Yeah.
So no matter what, we was all in the same boat, and it felt the same as well.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. Okay, I think that's kind of slowly starting to wrap up. So I'm going to throw at you the Comedian's Challenge. Which
please do.
You've listened to a few of these. You know what this is about. For anybody that's new here, I like to challenge all the comedians that come on here to tell a joke on stage, film it, and tag us in it. Except they've got to pick the joke from this joke book called The Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch. And the comedians get to pick their own joke that they can tell, but they only get to pick it by page number. So whatever Henry picks is what he gets, so long as nobody else has picked it. And I have no idea what it is either, because I'm not sad enough to memorize every page. And it's so Henry, if you give me a number between 5 and 95.
Perfect. Okay. I'm trying to just think of. I'll be boring and go for the day of my birthday.
Okay.
I'll go for 11.
Let's see. 11. Oh, one joke's already been picked, so you're left with the other one.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, I got it. Right. The joke I want you to tell on stage and film it, and add us as a collaborator on Instagram and all that jazz, is a lot of people cry when they cut an onion. The trick is not to get too attached.
That's it.
That's it. I'm sorry.
Oh, bad.
I'm sorry.
I love it. I love that so much.
I mean, it's one of those where some people are going to hear it and go, I don't get it. You're like, cry, attach, break up, split up,
Yeah.
It
ends so it's such a sharp ending, that joke. It's just like it's almost like you're expecting another bit and you're like, oh wait, no, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love it. I love it.
a lot of these can be. I mean, I've said it before. The joke, the book title is very apt. It means exactly what it says. But
I have seen the other comics do theirs. I've watched them on Instagram. Bolsters, they style it out.
So,
some of those really style it out. It's almost like, damn, you're a good comic.
Yeah,
you know?
I say every time it comes back to it is that if anybody ever wants any inspiration, go and look at Matt Lowe's and what he did with his.
Yeah, Matt, that was in Brighton as well. He done that. Yeah.
So he's actually kept that joke in.
No, I meant that the gig was in Brighton. I think it was at
Kool-Aid
Comedy, which is a great gig, Kool-Aid Comedy.
Yeah.
But he knew what he was doing by doing it twice.
Yes.
Wasn't he? He knew that if you ain't going to get them on the first time, do it second, and at least they'll laugh because it's a callback.
Yes. Yeah. I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but you have to go and watch it. It is so much fun. You can tell that somebody has put thought into it rather than just go up on stage to tell the joke, which is it's the easy way out. Granted, you can go on stage, and if you want to just tell the joke, go and just tell the joke. But if you want to be creative and try and put it into something, and I always say that it doesn't have to be, the premise of the joke has to stay the same, but you can adjust it in a particular way.
I'm thinking, what if I do a really long setup and then at the end just say those words in like word for word, and then that is the ending of the joke.
It could just be the end of the set.
Like,
good night.
We've been waiting for that. Yeah.
I mean, you could do it as part of a if you want to talk about a breakup. You can kind of utilize the premise that it's talking about in there. It was like an onion. If you cut it, don't get too attached. That kind of thing. This is the thing. Is I love this because it really does bring out the creative side in our brains to try and work out. How can I make myself not look an idiot on the stage by telling a shit joke?
And the best thing about it is there's no pressure because you've always got that. You can always fall back and go, well, it's not actually my joke.
Yeah. If you want to confess to it, it's all part of it. It's all part of a challenge.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a joke that you've put time and effort into it and you think it's hilarious and no one else does. There's nothing worse than that,
Oh dear, that's brilliant. So where can people find you then? And I'll put information in the description.
So you can find me on Instagram at Henry_Reilly. That's where I post where I do my gigs, put it on my story, repost any comedy night, make a poster or do a lineup online. I always repost it or anything like that. You can find that on there, or for the other side. The other side comedy night is every other week, so 2 times a month in Hampstead Heath at the Roebuck Pub on a Thursday night, and you can find all about that on the Other Side Comedy on Instagram.
Yep.
Give that a follow, give that a like. We like to post 2 reels a week, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on how the week goes. We like to post reels of all the comics, so there's a lot of good content on there to watch and laugh at, as well as that's it, really. Just my Instagram and the Other Side Instagram.
Cool. And you can find us on Instagram, Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on the W's, openmiccomedypod.com. Whichever platform you're listening to this on, please give it a nice little rating and a follow would be helpful. And if any comedians want to come on here, drop me a DM on Instagram and we'll look at getting you on as soon as possible. But lastly, thank you for your time today, Henry.
Thank you very much for having me on, Mark.
Not a problem. And for the rest of you, I'll speak to you all very soon.